we started coming into contact with unbelievable plant material. And it was like Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know, plants that you had dreamt about or only read about in books. It was like, you know, the craziest dream come true to be able to take care of some of these plants. It's a whole different world back here. My name's Carlos Campos Morera, and I am a landscape designer at Geoponika in Los Angeles. This is our private greenhouse / plant orphanage. It's about a 2,000 square foot greenhouse that used to be a truck loading bay. The greenhouse sits in a very industrial part of Los Angeles where it's just literally factory building after factory building. Set back from one of those factory buildings is this greenhouse, which, you know, holds one of the rarest plant collections, definitely in Los Angeles and maybe in the country. And it's totally hidden from the street. You would never see it if you were driving by. There's about 10,000 plants in here, probably more. It's so expensive to maintain, it's ridiculous. I mean, our accountant has like a meeting with us once a month, and every single meeting brings up the question of why the fuck do we have this space and how can we make it make money? I mean, and people who walk in here are like, so these are for sale? And we're like, no. Every century or so, plant collections change hands because that's sort of the lifespan of human beings. So about 15 years ago, we became the beneficiaries of a lot of plant collections that people had become too old to care for. A lot of these collections and plants would have just gone into the hands of people who didn't know how to take care of them, and they would have died. We call it the Non-Human Teachers, which is our nonprofit orphans greenhouse. How many microclimates? It's like endless. I don't know, thousands. As many plants as there are, there's microclimates. I mean, one plant growing over another plant creates a bit of shade, and that's a microclimate. And one plant that's on two pieces of wood instead of one piece of wood, two pieces of wood collects more moisture than one piece of wood. You know, the shelving, the place in the greenhouse, its proximity to fans, is just on and on and on and on and on. Here are some of our most poisonous plants, one of which is Euphoria Abdel, which is from Abdel Island, a small island off the coast of Somalia. You can no longer get to this island where it grows because the waters are infested with Somali pirates. Only a handful of botanists have been to that island to study this plant, one of which was our late friend, John Lavranos, who brought back 2 cuttings in the 70s. He got to the island by impersonating a British naval officer. And everything that you now see in existence comes from his original 2 cuttings. A friend of ours was propagating some of this plant in his greenhouse and got a small speck of it on his stomach. Said he was driving home and pulled up his shirt, and there was like a giant black circle with a hole in the center on his stomach from where the sap had sprayed out. You look at the color of that sap and you're like, that will kill me. It's like the gnarliest neon alien green. And if you went to a hospital and you're like, oh, I got Euphoria Abdel sap on me, I mean, no one would know what to do. This cactus is, I'd say, the rarest plant in this greenhouse, and it's unimpressive at first glance, but I'd say it's priceless. Its habitat is about 10 by 10 feet in the middle of nowhere in Peru in a sand dune. The closest thing next to its habitat is a chicken farm. We had thought it was potentially this plant, but we couldn't ID it. There was no tag, there was nothing that came along with it. And one day, maybe 2 years later, after having the plant in the greenhouse, we turned around the original cutting of this plant and there was 3 chicken feathers stuck to it. So that's the way we ID'd it. Some people think that there is no genetic diversity in this plant. It is a single individual that just produces offsets in habitat. So ostensibly, it is the only one of its kind on Earth. I've been stabbed by a cactus about 150,000 times. I have 3 in the back of my calf that have been there for probably 11 years now. At first, they'd send like electric shocks up my leg. You can still feel them from the outside of the skin, but I've just it's just become a part of me. This is one of the driest, second hottest areas in the greenhouse. Its natural orientation tended to be the one that was the hottest and the driest. So we're both creating microclimates inadvertently or on purpose, and then responding to what actually just exists naturally here. These are 2 crazy plants. Well, Witchia Mirabellis, they're some of the oldest plants on Earth. They can grow to be estimated 2,000 to 3,000 years old. They're from Namibia and they're from Angola. We're stacking old sewer pipes on top of each other to keep up with its root growth, because in habitat, they have a tap root that goes down to a water table that nothing else can reach. And to have a female in a collection is incredibly rare. You know, they take 80 years or something to find out whether they're a male or a female, and everyone that has one has a male. So about 2 years ago, we found out this was a female, and so now we can start producing seed between these 2. So Copia poa come from potentially the driest desert on Earth in Chile, in the Atacama Desert. Parts of the Atacama Desert haven't received rain in like a million years. It's where NASA did most of its testing for Mars rover, because the habitat so closely emulates Mars. This individual could probably be somewhere between 250 and 300 years old. In habitat, it could be up to 500 years old. They are only watered by a coastal fog that comes into Chile from Antarctica, comes over the mountains, and blankets the desert for a few hours in a thick fog, and the fog lands on its spines and drips down to its root system. This is the hottest place in the greenhouse. It's a transitional space for plants that need the hottest temperatures at their growing times during the year. So we'll cycle things in and out of here. In the summer, it's insanely hot. It gets about 130 degrees. So it's like an insulated box inside of an already hot location. And so it's a fucking oven is basically what it is. These are all Packodiums, which need incredible heat and hate the cold. I think that we probably lose like 20% of this collection every year, and it's not even that cold in LA. And so they're the happiest at 120, 130 degrees here during the summer. And this is just like a good spot to observe everything from above. I don't talk to the plants, but I don't look down on people who do. To each their own, you know? But I think the music that I play, they enjoy. They got their own thing going. I mean, if you come in here at like 11 o'clock at night and the lights are off, like the vibe is strong. I mean, it's palpable. There is never like a state of perfection. There's always this fluctuation of issues arising. But it's a feeling of being outnumbered in a really great way. You know, there's only one of me, and there's thousands and thousands of these other incredibly special beings that are beautiful and smart and interesting and come from all these crazy places. So it's an ego killer. It makes you feel small and lame. This is Cypostema jute, which is a large caudiciform succulent. So this is all water inside here, and these also grow in Africa, and they are part of the grape family, actually. And so they grow these giant blue leaves with the most unbelievably translucent pink grapes that suspend off the top of them. If you were stranded in a desert, you'd go and eat one of those grapes, but they actually are also a neurotoxin and horrifically poisonous. I feel like maybe some of these plants, because a lot of them are incredible survivors, somehow they've transmitted this desire to us of wanting to collect them and to propagate them and have them make seed and then make more of them to continue their species. But either way, we are the guardians of them. It's an incredible fucking bone-crushing weight on your shoulders to keep all of them alive, to keep all of them happy. So these are Dioscorea elephantipes, and this is Dioscorea mexicana, which obviously illustrates Pangea in a wonderful way. This is from Mexico, this is from Africa, ostensibly the same plant. These are aqueducts. They filter right into the plant's root system that only runs along the exterior of the plant. So it's a hyper-efficient watering system that has very little waste. So it's catching the water and bringing the water directly to the root. All of these plants have been around for far longer than human beings have existed, and some even before the dinosaurs. Some of these plants in here are the oldest plants on Earth. This is like more tropical stuff and our infirmary. So it's got misters running all around it, and the wood also holds moisture in a different way. These myrmecophytes are pretty amazing. This is an incredible sort of example of symbiosis. The interior of these plants are basically ant colonies. So all those holes are for where ants enter and exit, and then the internal structure is just a crazy habitat for ants. This is a very, very rare cactus. This is Selenocereus whittii, which Margaret Mead was an amazing illustrator and British botanist, spent her life trying to see this plant flower. No terrestrial roots, it just grows on these grove of trees in Brazil that's habitually flooded. So they're suspended halfway up the trees in midair. And only on the last trip to the Amazon, she finally got to see it flower. It flowers once a year. We're outside of the main greenhouse now. This table is one of the brightest locations in the entire area. And this is a bulb from South Africa, Bulbini alveolata. Maybe there's 3 people in the US that have it. These flowers are probably only in effect for 2 days, maybe 3 days. I mean, with all of the plants in here, if you somehow miss its flowering that year, you'll have to wait another year to pollinate it. So we keep a close eye on it. I mean, to take it on was like the greatest, most exciting thing we ever experienced. It's a lot of different emotions. It's wonder, it's a diminutive feeling of I'm not the most important creature on Earth, and there's so many different life forms, and they all have their unique sort of character and spirits and beauty. And so to keep these things together and to keep them alive was and is an incredible gift. I mean, it's my favorite space in the world.